Welcome, everyone, to the Overseas Famous podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Owens, and we have a very special show today. We have a group of young athletes who are going to take us through some of the things that go on, not only in their athletic lives, but also that go on when you are trying to figure out this whole NIL market and when you're just trying to figure out how a site like LootMogul can benefit the entire metaverse and how you can use that. So let me just first start by welcoming everyone. Raj obviously needs no introduction. He's been on the show before multiple times. Raj, head of LootMogul. Raj, welcome. Let me just intro you and kind of let's explain what we're doing here today.
Okay. No, thank you, Kevin. Yeah, so I'm super excited about building and creating this platform for the community. And especially, I'm right now at GDC, the world's largest game development conference. And there's just tremendous hype and the traction and interest for all these college and NIL level athletes, right? And bringing them into metaverse. So you have a typical audience of 100,000 people worldwide watching, attending the game development conference. And they are all interested in how can I play with, for example, Angel, right, on the basketball front, or even let's say Kristian, right? If I wanted to play with you, Mari, how do I play with all these young stars in video game setting? And that's all the San Francisco right now is talking about. They are super excited about Web3, metaverse, gaming, and then also talking specifically, how do they bring value to the community by providing them immediate financial assistance and or revenue model that can generate for life, right? So like almost like the music industry. When you have when you're young, talented, and you sign with a record label, you can be earning money from that record label for life. Blockchain is similar in that concept. Except with blockchain, you are the owner of the property, and all the royalties that are generated for life, you will be getting it as part of the entire community feedback. So in short, LootMogul is a community-first approach sports metaverse company that focuses on athletes. We are created by athletes for athletes, and we focus on how do we drive engagement with your fans and also help you build your future in meta space and in real life.
Now, I always look at it now when we're looking at these young athletes right here. When I was in college, there was no real benefit. You really couldn't monetize your name because obviously NCAA rules. Now with this new rule, you are able to create this entire revenue stream and benefit from the Web3 sports metaverse industry immediately. You are able to get your success on the court and utilize that to benefit you with enhanced revenue and stuff and things like that, which is an incredible thing. And I think, as young athletes, let's start with Angel. Angel, when you first started getting into the NIL, was that something that you were like really patient with? Is that something you were like, okay, what do I want to get into? Was there something about something like LootMogul that interested you off the bat?
First and foremost, thank you for having me. And it's something like NIL. I realized that the advantage that us athletes can have as where we come from, especially me being Mexican, I just use my background and knowing where I come from, New York City, that like I could just take advantage of many opportunities to work with brands. So when I saw LootMogul, I said, why not?
It's true. It's such a unique situation where you are able to reach out to certain platforms that you think would best benefit your specific structure. Now, Mari and Kristian, you're both teammates, and was there any competitive? First off, let's go into the was there any competitive juices when this NIL started? Is that something that you guys, teammates, are starting to compete with each other and be like, oh, I have a deal here, I have a deal here, and you're like, oh no, I'm going to get a deal here and here. Is that something you're almost reaching? Is it become a competitive thing with you guys?
I feel like it's more like not competition. I feel like we're pretty much encouraging each other to go out and seek for these deals, because where we at in Statesboro is such a small market for NIL deals. Most of the deals that are coming from for us are really like community deals. Like they're really based in Statesboro, so it's really hard to go out and compete. We're just trying to uplift each other and trying to basically just get each other to get those deals and share around. You know what I'm saying?
No,
Yes, sir.
Yeah, go ahead, Kristian. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, the piggyback off what he said, it's definitely, all in all, it's really just a great opportunity for us to uplift each other in another way. We all want to see each other make the most of it and monetize our names the best way we can.
And you hit on it. Some of the smaller markets, it becomes difficult to monetize because you're a smaller market team, and there's not as much even in the localized revenue streams. When you look at a company like LootMogul, who we were talking about, there's just this millions and millions of reach. That definitely plays a benefit when you're able to have a worldwide sponsorship as opposed to maybe, say, I don't know, like a local sandwich shop, which is what I would think I would be the top that I would have gotten in college. Like maybe a sandwich shop would have been like, maybe we'll name a sandwich after you, but probably not. So when you look at a place like LootMogul and this vast reach that it has, is that something that you look at as a platform to not only help you out currently financially, but also help you out in terms of your recognition in the athletic world going forward?
Yeah, I think it's a huge platform for us to be able to not only show what we can do on the field and off the field, but be able to interact with the community, allow them to invest in us and allow us to pour into them as well.
So when we have now Raj had talked about it. Now LootMogul is doing so much in terms of creating all of these revenue streams and creating a chance for fans and athletes to own equity in LootMogul, which is really big because it's a growing business. Raj and I talk all the time about how this business is taking off and it's going to explode. And being on the ground floor of something like that, like Angel, is that something that really stood out to you to be on the initial front of something like LootMogul?
No, it was a true honor to be on something as front as like LootMogul because of the fact that we was never enlightened to nothing like LootMogul. You know what I mean? We was never taught nothing about us, the metaverse. You know what I mean? For example, like it's just a whole new world that is just approached, and we are learning something new about it. And I'm just like complete in shock. You know what I mean? So like I'm just truly grateful for that opportunity.
So Kristian, when you set up in the same light and you saw LootMogul coming up, was that, we talked to Angel about this earlier, was that something that you were just immediately like, let me become a part of this? How did your initial start into this NIL situation start?
For me, it was definitely, I was unaware. I really had never heard of the metaverse before LootMogul, so I just saw it as an opportunity to just expand my knowledge, new experience, something to find out about and get into. But once I did get involved and get invested, I definitely was enlightened to see the opportunity that I had. And like Angel said, definitely grateful for it, for sure.
When you guys look at the stuff that LootMogul does in terms of you're able to compete against people online, do those competitive juices start running a little bit? Like when you have the chance to compete against just a random fan, like I know if someone came up to me, even now with one knee, and they're like, hey, let's play 1-on-1, I'd be like, no. And then I'd start kind of being like, all right, let's go, because I need to prove myself. Is there something about that you're like, listen, I'm not going to let this slide. This is going to be fun, but I'm going to whoop that,
It's more like Mari said, you know what I mean? Like pushing each other to make the most out of the opportunity. You know what I mean? So like if you're winning, I'm winning, like we're all winning, why not support each other? You know what I mean? But definitely, you know what I mean, to push each other to the max, so that's what I think on my end.
Yeah, I think it's not really much as the competitive part, but just uplifting each other and having fun while we're doing it at the same time.
Now, Raj, we had talked a little bit about the benefits of investing in LootMogul, and we had talked about the Republic campaign and creating this whole entire extremely large and successful company. So what are the benefits of investing in a company like LootMogul?
Yeah. So one of the key things that we want to focus on is as I think Mari just talked about, is while you're growing, the community is having fun, right? So the fun part is a critical part of it. But many times what happens is that when a company or even a startup, and I just use as a broad example of Facebook, right? If you are able to buy or become part of Facebook, and Facebook also said, you know what, thank you for signing up early on. Now we will also give you a share of Facebook. We will be all multimillionaires, right? Because that means that not only you sign up at Facebook, you became part of the community, you invited your friends over, you obviously started posting, your daily feeds are all active and so forth. But at the end of the day, what happened in those kind of scenarios, big tech companies, right, kept 90% of the profit or even 100% of the profit in some cases. The community doesn't own anything. Like even your Facebook post or Instagram post, you don't own it. They can delete anytime they want. So essentially, in the Web3 space, that's what really the power of Metaverse, power of Web3 is that when, let's say, Mari or Angel or Kristian, right, when you guys create that post, you own that post for life, right? So essentially, you're getting revenue. And then on second element is that what we decided is that why you just make it just part of the post ownership? Why don't you make it open to pretty much owning the company? So because right now we are still a young startup, we have 2.5 years old or so. And in 2.5 years old, our existing investors have made 10x, 100x, right? So that's where they have made a lot of profit. So and we are still early on. So why don't we give that opportunity to players, to athletes, young college, right? And that's one of the reasons why many times what people do in the private investment round, they say a minimum you have to invest $25,000 to own a portion of a company. That to me, it's not a sustainable or a democratization of product. You really want everybody to own the company. That's one of the things we said for all our athletes, including you gamers, including anyone who really wants to be part of this early high growth metaverse industry and LootMogul. We made the price of that to be $100 entry point. So essentially for $100, you can own X number of shares. And again, everything I'm saying is obviously publicly listed and on republic.com/LootMogul website. And the objective is that we are making sure that not only you own your content, which is the power of Web3, you generate lifetime royalties, but you also own the company, right? So that's where you are essentially, everybody on the call is owner on the company. And then as an investor, now you are obviously earning from multiple angles. So one thing that we always talk about, Kevin, just to repeat your or readdress your question, is that you have to focus as sports on one main thing: revenue first approach. Revenue meaning how do athletes make money? How do sports fans make money? How do sponsors make money? So all the brands, right? Whether you are Hoop Culture as a brand, whether you're DKS Apparel or the shoe line, any of the sports shoe line, how do they make money? So if you focus on that, then there is incentive for everybody to make money and especially own the company through Republic. And that's where the excitement, the fun part comes from. But the objective is really to make sure that it's a community-driven first platform, and we want everybody to own a piece of the company through republic.com/LootMogul campaign for as little as $100. Yeah.
So as you said, we're all investors in LootMogul. So when I talk to young athletes, how did you feel? What encouraged you guys to invest in a company like LootMogul?
You know, us as
No, you got it, bro.
no problem. It's all good. Thank you. So us as young athletes, you know what I mean? Like we always hear companies that like, oh, owners, you know what I mean? Like how do I get to put my foot on that? You know what I mean? So that's when I came to mind. For me, it was just like, man, how do I become like a co-owner of a company? You know what I mean? Like that can grow, that I see vision in. So when this opportunity came by, I said, I'm really grateful to take full advantage of it. And what's next? You know what I mean? So that was my thought process in this spectrum.
Go ahead, Kristian.
Yeah, for me, it was definitely, I saw the opportunity for exponential growth. I definitely know that it has the opportunity to be a powerhouse in the metaverse. And I'm definitely confident that it will happen. So I saw it, I just saw no reason not to.
Now, the great thing in Raj, when you were talking, it's the one thing I kept thinking. I was like, the coolest thing about this is the fact that not only are young athletes getting this revenue, but they're getting an education, in a financial education, which is something that didn't happen before. And I had to wait until I was playing pro, and I was still figuring out my financial stuff. But giving young athletes such a platform and giving them an opportunity to learn how to invest and to learn how to manage their money and to learn how the stock market and all of these things work, and like you were explaining with LootMogul, buying shares, it's something that didn't exist back then, and creating that education now gives exponential growth to these young athletes. And I think that is such a benefit, because there's things that you guys are doing now at, in your early 20s that I was doing in my mid 30s. So having an advantage over athletes, older athletes, is huge, because now you guys are more financially sound. You have more of an understanding of how things work in the revenue market. Was that something that you looked at as important, or is that something that you've really understood as you've gone through this whole entire situation?
I think it's more than important, because, like you said, you were like in your mid 30s when you found out about like your financial standpoints, and you were still playing professional. But it's like, now that we're young, now I'm thinking ahead of my time. Now I'm like, when I retire, I have a backup. I don't need to worry about where I'm going to be at financially. You know what I mean? So like, it's good that we're starting young, so that when we're older, when we're done hooping, when we're done playing our sports that we love, and we retire, and our bodies get older, we know what to do on the business standpoint.
Now,
Yes.
go ahead, Kristian.
No, I completely agree with what he said. It was definitely a blessing to be able to learn this at a young age. I've had a lot of older athletes around me, and even guys who are currently still playing, who wish that they had the opportunities that we have right now, at this current time, in the current state of college. So definitely, it's definitely a cool thing to be able to learn some of the things that they're teaching us through being involved with LootMogul.
I think the networking aspect is something that I always look at as incredible, because LootMogul is working with so many people now. With the NBA, the MLB Players Association, Capital Classic, SW, all of these major brands that LootMogul works with, that not only will they help you in terms of growth financially, but they'll help you in terms of their networking, because now you're a face of a franchise where you're working with some of the biggest companies in the world. So when you eventually do retire, whether it's after college or after a long professional career, fingers crossed, hopefully that is something, that network that you've grown through LootMogul is going to be exponential. It's going to be something that's going to continue and last. And I think that's just one of the greatest things about this, because I'm always still trying to network. But having your kind of place within these companies that are major companies is just tremendous. So, Raj, when we go through this, we talked about some of the legends of LootMogul. Now, I remember when I'm talking to Course, I had Corsley, and we're talking to him, and there was just so many names. And the first thing that stood out to me was Lisa Leslie. I was like, wow. Now, I was Lisa Leslie was like the first woman ever to dunk. And I always thought that was super cool. And having a daughter, I'm always looking towards those things. We're watching the NCAA women's tournament, almost like we're pretty equal in terms of how we're watching. But having a woman like Lisa Leslie and all of these big names joining on to LootMogul has to be something that really helps grow the business.
Yeah, no. So we are totally blessed, right? I mean, to have even diversity in this call. and then the diversity in gender too, right? So like with Lisa as our star ambassador, she's also an investor in LootMogul, along with Carlos Boozer, Mario, and then we had an amazing dinner with Michael Coop yesterday or day before yesterday. So Michael Coop, Lakers legend, right? So like you have blessing from all the star athletes, right? And then their access to is unlimited, right? So with Michael, he can bring Terrell Owens, he can bring Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, right? There are so many connections he has personally, right? And so it's just, and again, the whole point is that as a community, we're just starting. Even though 100 million number may look big, but you can be easily 500 million, 2 billion, right? That's the gaming population just on the sports end worldwide, right? So if you look at every single sport aggregated together, soccer, football, baseball, basketball, right? It's a 2 billion plus 2.2 billion population that are sports fanatics. And so the community is just getting started, in my view. Obviously, while we have a big, we call it as total addressable market. It's a big market to capture. We want to stay humble, right? Obviously, ambitious. So one of the comment that we had with an investor yesterday is calling us being humblicious, right? So being humble and ambitious, right? So being like, you don't want to get too cocky, but you want to still be having an ambition that you are building something very unique for not only athletes, but also fans and also for brands and to some younger people, right? This is going to be their lifelong journey of revenue, right? As Angel said, this can be a financial literacy 101 for other athletes where you own the company, you own your assets, right? And then you are going to make royalties for life and using your name and likeness today, right? As a young star, right? And then, so that's an unlimited opportunity for all of us. And I feel blessed to be working with so many talented people.
Well, you hit
Raj,
one of the, oh, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I had a question for Raj. You know what I mean? Because obviously he's one of the owners of LootMogul. What came to your mind when you said I wanted to? Were you thinking of us as an us? Like what came to your mind when you decided to create this?
Okay, very good question. So Angel, so what happened was 2.5 years ago, right? I was talking to you. So I came from video gaming background, right? So with Riot Games, with Warner Brothers, made a lot of different games and supported a lot of different tech development. But one of the things that I was always fascinated about was sports. So big time Lakers, Eagles, Cowboys, 49ers, like all those professional franchises that I was a fan of, including New England Patriots. So it's a lot of good sports fanatics in me. As a young kid, your age, right? I was a big cricket star, right? I was playing cricket, right? So it's an Indian game, as you may know. And it says, apparently I found out that if you look at the ranking wise, the most popular sport in the world with fans, number 1 is soccer. Number 2 is cricket. Number 3 is the basketball, right? So that's where the population of fans is huge, right? So, but going back to your question, so 2.5 years ago, I started talking to a lot of people, including Magic Johnson, right? So I live in LA. I have access to a lot of different good people that are mentors to me. And those people are saying, why don't you do something like Magic was literally early on during the gym days. He said, why don't you do something with your tech background for athletes? And then I started saying, okay, so how do I, and his angle was mostly, how do you revive the legacy of many of the star athletes? And here is where I'll plug Corsley in. So Corsley was one of the original person that joined LootMogul. And when I talked to him, he gave me a lot of thought process around what athletes who are past their prime playing area or play time, they were almost retired. How do they benefit from this entire economy, right? Then I looked at NBA 2K and then NFL Madden and all those existing games. And then quickly I realized that we have many people who are part of NBA 2K video game, and they make like $600 a year, right? And the company makes close to million or 2 million on their name, right? So the company is taking $2 million profit and the athletes get $600, right? So to me, that's not fair. So when I started talking to young athletes like yourself, Angel, right, I saw like a problem that we need to solve for, is that all this athlete needs to be get paid appropriately. That's one. They need to own their own assets. They need to start investing or owning the company if they wanted to. But the idea was that there's a critical gap for young and retired players, right? And obviously we have some active players right now, but that's this LootMogul was serving those two. I call it as underserved or unserved community, right? So they don't have that many access, and unless you are, let's say, a very, very top level, let's say like a high school level LeBron, right? You probably won't have access to all the Nike deals. So how do you get access to some of the brand deals also? So with all that being said, that's where the problem statement came from, right? And that's where I thought about this is an opportunity that I want to solve for. Now, I didn't know how to solve it, right? To be honest, right? So the LootMogul is a product created by athletes for athletes, and that's the key. Not only just the tagline, but that's where you talk to a lot of athletes. So, Angel, you may come up with 50 new ideas for me to say, why don't you do this for an athlete? Why don't you do this for an athlete? And we take your idea, we implement right away, right? So we have a very strong tech team, right, that can build anything you want. And then we have a very good business team that can get any deals on front. But the core product is something comes from athlete's idea. So even 2 days ago, when I was with Michael Coop, right, Michael Cooper and the wife and the family, he gave me a lot of new ideas. Well, look, how do you engage for many of these retired players? And not everything you do has to be just tied to a computer, because that's another thing with this community platform, or we call it as multiverse. The multiverse is all about not just sticking into your computer or metaverse or AR, VR. It can be in real life too. So what if you have an opportunity where somebody wants to, you become a mentor for some young college athlete. And in that case, you can be doing your metaverse AI training sessions inside on the computer. But they may say that, why don't you have a couple days session? We will pay for your flight. We will pay for everything. Just come to on the weekend, and maybe you run a boot camp for young 10-year-old kids, right? I'm just making this up, right? So in that case, there's a lot of opportunity for all these young athletes, including professionals, to start engaging with community, give back to the community, obviously while making money. But that's where all the ideation is coming from. So going back to your question, Angel, I knew what problem, there's a gap that existed in the industry, right? I know that most of the tech companies take advantage of it, right? They take 90% of profit, 100% of profit, and athletes get no money. So my mission was to solve that problem. Now, how do I solve it? Is by talking to every single person I met. Kevin gave me a lot of good ideas on how to really create an engaging community. And I'm sure, let's say, Kristian will come up with a few more other ideas that we incorporate. But I know what problem we still need to solve, right? We are still young, early stage startup, 2.5 years old, and we'll continuously drive. But the amount of, I'm traveling from one city to another city because the brands are constantly calling us, right? So I'm right now in Bay Area. Next week, we are presenting at Miami NFT Week. We are a sponsor of Miami NFT. There are 5,000 plus. I think it's the world's largest NFT conference in the world in Miami. It was one of the original one, and we have been asked to be speaker out there. But that's what the demand for us as a company, as a team, is huge, right? So that's what, and I'll do my 5,000% in, right? That's one thing I say. My wife constantly says to me, like, are you going to sleep ever? I said, yeah, I'll sleep for sure. But we have so many lives depends on us, right? And we have so much to do. So it's a journey, but it's something I'm blessed to be part of this journey.
No doubt. It's a true honor to be talking to you, Mr.
Thank you. Yeah.
Raj,
and I believe in God. Let's just start. I believe in God. God first.
No worries.
Raj, you hit it on the head with the community, because that's what LootMogul is, and that's what we've had many conversations about. It's a community, and even the virtual community that is created leads to a physical community in terms of even Angel, Kristian, you guys are probably first time meeting each other, but now you've hopped on a podcast together. Now you're acquaintances. Now, as those things grow, and now you start even like the training aspect, like the on field stuff or on court stuff, you guys start developing these bonds because you both are part of this metaverse and this community. And this community doesn't just it just transcends just the computer and the virtual world, and it becomes friendships and training partners and bonds and teammates and even opponents off on the court. So I think that's really one of those things, because it's such a large community of like-minded athletes that you've created, Raj. Now you have guys like Kristian and Angel who develop these bonds based on this interactions that we're having every single day.
No doubt. And same way, like my connections, you know what I mean? The people that I know in the NBA world and in the soccer world as well, because I grew up playing soccer and I play basketball now, but like still all outside of basketball and outside of soccer, people that I know that run the businesses, you know what I mean? So I can put my foot in and help you guys out. Let me know any way I can.
Thank you, Angel. Yeah, thank you.
So yeah, this was an incredible conversation. I think when we talk about something, you could see the passion that we're speaking about, because it's something that we all truly believe in, and this incredible metaverse. And we talked about the Republic campaign that you guys can go on and you can help. You can be part of the whole entire LootMogul universe, and we will post those on when we post this video, so you guys can be part of the community as well. And yeah, we just wanted to say, you know, Kristian, Angel, you guys, we really appreciate you guys. We thank you so much for joining us today and hopping on the podcast. And Raj, final thoughts that you want the world to know about LootMogul. I know you just went on that, but any final thoughts that you would like the world to know?
Yeah. No, the two main things that I want to know is obviously you can own portion of LootMogul through a Republic campaign. That's one. But the main message for the world is support the community. You have underserved, forgotten community of young athletes or retired players. They all need to be revived and need support from you, right? So whether it's a college level, so we'll be doing a lot more sponsorship deals, especially in LootMogul Metaverse, because you want to pay for your college, right? So that's something NIL deal should be able to do it. And then for some of the early attraction athletes, right? We will be pushing for that from a brand, because we're not only LootMogul will do it, but other brands we want you to be supported by. If you need to buy go to a training boot camp, right? For example, Angel, right? If there's a specific boot camp under, let's say, I'm just making all this up, but let's say Michael Cooper's defensive academy, right? So he's truly the defensive legendary person, and maybe you want to spend a couple of days with him and learn all the basketball defensive techniques, right? That would be one. And same thing with you, like Doug Williams, right? He's part of LootMogul, investor, ambassador on the football front, or Gary Clark, or John Booty, right? Ken Harvey. You have so many different legendary football players, and they may want to do a boot camp with you, right? So, and those are the programs that need some funding. So, Kevin, to your point, message-wise, is that support the community, right? Because this is underserved, forgotten community of star athletes, whether they're rising stars or they're legendary people. And then this community needs your support. And we have a very open, transparent company. 75% of revenues goes directly to athletes, right? Most of it, right? And then we spend obviously less than 5% on marketing. So our main goal is to really give more than 50, 80, 100%, right? Depending on the product, back to the community, because we truly believe in this, our social mission. And obviously we are profitable, but the goal is to make sure that the world knows that this is an upcoming rising star platform with rising star athletes and forgotten legendaries.
Now, we had talked about the specific mindsets, and the one thing that really stands out is, Raj, you had talked about how when you are you have to be aggressive, but you have to stay humble. And that's something that we as athletes always think. Like I always say, like when you're an athlete, you have to think that you're the best at all times, but also accept the worst, because if you can't, things will get very difficult for you. And I think knowing that someone in your position who's helping this community of athletes grow has the same mindset is humbling for us too. So we really appreciate it. And Raj, Angel, Kristian, we appreciate you guys hopping on, telling us a little bit about this, giving us a little insight into your lives and your decisions to join this platform. And Raj, obviously, for you leading the charge on this community, we appreciate it very much.
No, thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
all.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Kevin. Yeah.
Thank you. This has been the Overseas Famous Podcast with LootMogul Gang. We will see you guys next time.